And welcome back everyone. In this video, I'm going to be going over a bunch of various Asian languages and taking a look with you at different sorts of sounds and the spelling patterns that they have in the English language. The first part of this video is going to involve the Indic language branch. The particular languages we're going to be talking about are Sanskrit, Hindi, Persian, Urdu, Punjabi, and Sinhalese. So, in these languages, we first start with Sanskrit, and as usual, we start with the vowels. The A vowel is pretty much universally going to be spelled with A. Nothing too complicated, no AHs or Os. You have words like Ayurveda, a form of alternative medicine. You have Swaraj, the philosophy of political independence. Nataka, heroic comedy drama. Ahimsa, the doctrine of refraining from harming others, and sarangi, which is a musical instrument, and kathakali, which is another form of dance. All of these have the open vowel system with the A vowel being spelled with just one A. Similar thing happens with the E vowel. That is spelled with an I. Mridanga, this type of drum. Dahi, yogurt. Lassi, a yogurt drink, Swadeshi, a movement for national independence, and Kundalini, the yogic life force in the spine. All of these are united by that same E sound being spelled with a I. A couple other words you can also remember are Manipuri, a dance form associated with a region of India, as well as my computer needs to cooperate. Okay. Let's move on. And then once you get to the consonants, the B sound in Sanskrit is going to be spelled with a BH. That's usually because when they're pronounced in original Sanskrit, you'd be able to hear the BH. For example, Bhagavat would probably be pronounced something like Bhagavat, where you have a B sound. But in American English, we don't really make that distinction when we pronounce these things, so it just ends up as Bhagavat. You should know that that has to be spelled with a BH. Same thing applies with Abhinaya, Bhikkhu, and Bhikshu, as well as Bharatanatyam, a Indian form of classical dance. A similar thing happens with the D sound and the T sound. Usually those would be the heavier consonant. Instead of Bodhi or Booty, those would be Bodhi and Buddhi. But in American English we just have that simple consonant. Remember to spell it with that additional H. Bodhi, Booty, Samadhi, Dharma, even Kathak and the T. That one also has an additional H at the end. Kathak. As well as over here with Tirthankara and Karma. That's the other consonant on this page. Is when you have a K sound, that's simple. Just spell it with a K. Here's a combination of Hindi, Persian, and Urdu in the next few slides. They are kind of related, even though they may have different origins. The words that we've adopted into English sort of share some commonalities. Many of them have to do with food, other things like clothing and boats. You have a masala, a varying blend of spices. This you may have seen before. A padishah is a powerful person or a mogul. An izar, a voluminous outer garment. Thana, an Indian police station. Remember the thing about the H after the T. Pansigar, an East Indian robber and assassin. And here's some pictures to help visualize. Kaftegari is Indian Damascene work in which steel is inlaid with gold. Roti, it's like the Indian version of what you might know as a tortilla. It's a form of bread that's flat and round. Kalgi, putty, this wrapping for riding a horse. Darjeeling, a kind of tea regarded as being of high quality, grown especially in the mountains of northern India. And dinghy, a kind of boat. Ghy. Two sorts of tricky parts. Also interesting to note is that the word kolgi here is sort of an exception for the k sound being with a k. This is one of the few that has a c instead. Similar to how it is in Sanskrit, when you have Hindi, Persian, or Urdu words with a duh sound, they're going to have a dh, like duri, this thick cotton cloth or carpet, and jodhpur, pants for horseback riding that are tailored to be flexible. However, with the k sound, here there's a bit of flexibility. Occasionally you'll have khadi or cotter, this is a cotton fabric that's homespun, that has a kh. But there are words like kurta that just have a k, clean and simple. And then you'll also have the occasional outlier of a word like eka over here that has two k's. Here are some interesting words. They're sort of like the exceptions that I collected, and they're just interesting to know because of the fun sorts of combinations of letters that they have. For example, here on the left is woots, a steel made in ancient India by crude methods in small crucibles, in the oldest known process for making steel. That is an interesting spelling where you have two O's in a row and then a TZ. It's not a letter combination you see often in these Asian languages. Samosa, a common snack food that has that O. It's an interesting word, just make sure you know how to spell it. It's fairly simple all the way through. Namda and numna are interesting because of that AH at the end. A namda is a thick felted rug of India and Persia, usually made of pounded goat hair. And a numna is a felt or sheepskin pad placed between a horse's back and the saddle to prevent it from rubbing too hard. And then you have words like mufassal, the provincial or rural districts of India, and izzat, personal dignity or respect, honor. And here is chhatri, interesting because of the CHH. Two H's, one T, and then an RI. Nothing near the end, but just remember the beginning. That's a funerary monument. It's kind of like a chapel built over a tomb. Which takes us into Sinhalese and Punjabi words. One at a time, we have words like Bhangra that come from Punjabi. It's a type of popular dance and the music associated with that type of dance. You have words like Wesak, the Buddhist New Year festival, beriberi, a disease caused by a lack of vitamin B1, Disava, one of the district governors of Sri Lanka, and Pansal, the rite in Hinayan Buddhism. Make sure not to confuse the word Pansal with Pansit, which is a Chinese noodle dish, and we'll get to that later. And that brings us to the other portion of this video workshop, which is the non-Indo-European languages that fall under the umbrella of broadly Asian languages, which include Tamil, Turkish, Mongolian, Japanese, Chinese, and Sinhalese. So for some Tamil words, corundum is a kind of mineral. You have vetiver, which is this grass that's often used in making soaps and perfumes. You have cheroot, a cigar cut square at both ends. And kanji, a porridge made of rice. You might notice that some of these letter patterns are similar to what you might have had in, for example, Hindi, Persian, and Urdu, like the ch over here, and a hard C for a k sound. Just don't complicate things too much as long as you remember things like the GEE for kanji, rather than having, for example, a J. In Turkish, some of these spellings get kind of interesting. So, a Turkish messenger or sergeant is chaus. That ow sound is actually an IAU. Keep that vowel combination in mind. You have a similar sound in jower, but there's actually an extra sort of vowel bit, jower. There you have an IAOU before the R. It's complicated, but if you think about how it would originally be pronounced, it slightly makes a bit more sense. Just remember to get that to pop into your head when you have the pronouncer saying Jawr. And Effendi is a man of property or education. That one has two F's, kind of like effect, and then ND, E-N-D-I at the end, the E with the I. Khedive is a ruler of Egypt back in the past. The K is with a K-H, D-I for the D, and then V at the end, but remember that trailing E. And a Kayik-Ji, a rower of a kayik, which is this boat right over here. It's a type of sailing vessel. And kayik has C-A-I for the Kai, and the K part is a Q-U-E. It's one of the tricky elements. And the J-E-E, it's like a person that does something. Otherwise, for other vowels like the A and the O, Turkish just has simple A's and O's. Kavas is an armed constable or courier. The tricky part there is the K at the beginning instead of a C, and the SS at the end. You have Nizam, a Turkish soldier. Imarat, an inn or hospice. Dolman, a long robe with sleeves. A yardan is a sharp-crested ridge carved by wind erosion. And liman means a bay or an estuary at the mouth of a river, or a lagoon. And with that, we take a trip over to Japan. Many words here that have to do with food, artwork, pottery, dance. We start with yakitori, which is Japanese grilled chicken, and you can see there that the A sound is spelled with an A here. There are a couple cases like Orihan and Kakiemon that those are spelled with an O, but it's more of a mon and hon sound rather than yakitori and geta and gagaku. Be sure to pay attention to that vowel sound so you can exactly pinpoint which one it is. But usually for the most part, Japanese has these consonant-vowel-consonant patterns like kanban and urushiye, where you just have simple clusters, nothing too overly complex. Don't try to make Japanese consonant clusters be like how they are in, for example, German. You won't see those large clusters here. You have words like teppanyaki, which is food grilled on a large steel plate at the dinner table. Sukiyaki, thin slices of vegetables, meat, and tofu cooked in soy sauce and sugar. Shogi, which is Japanese chess, not to be confused with shoji, a paper screen used as a wall or a sliding door. These have the E sound being spelled with an I. This is what it's going to be in most cases, but there are a couple exceptions, like netsuki, which is a small object carved in wood or ivory, formerly used to fasten a small purse to a kimono, and a word like suji, which means to wash the deck of a ship. That one's interesting, it has a G-E-E, it was transliterated in a slightly different method. And then, if you have the U sound, it's a U, and if you have the I sound, it's an AI. Remember, keep in mind that most of these words were transliterated, which means that they were taken from their phonetic origins in Japanese, and equivalents were created for them in English, so that you could read it out in a way that it would be pronounced just like the Japanese. So, in most of these cases, you don't really have too much complication because they were back-formed. Shakuhachi is the Japanese bamboo flute, just sha, S-H-A, ku, K-U, ha, H-A, chi, C-H-I. Break it down if it's needed, they're not usually too complex. Satsuma, also phonetic, bonsai, nunchaku, banzai, keep in mind the Z sound there, zaibatsu. Same goes with the K sound, except for cases where you have a harder K. Kakemono, makemono. Kakemono means a picture or writing on silk, where you hang it and it has a roller so you can roll it. Makemono is a picture that's mounted and rolled. Gyakuro, a type of tea. It literally means dew or precious dew. It's a high-grade tea. all of these just have one K wherever you have a K sound. But then you have Hokku and Shikken. Those have a harder K sound, and those are going to have two Ks. Pay attention to that, remember that. And that brings us to Chinese. Here, you're going to encounter a few different sort of methods of spelling these words, and the main reason for that is many of these sort of spellings had been brought over to the English language using the Wade-Giles transliteration system. That system isn't as widely used now with the advent of the pinyin system, so many of these words, especially the ones that excuse me, come from either Cantonese or Pekingese, are going to have sometimes somewhat illogical spelling patterns. And the reason for that is just the way that this system had of writing down Chinese words in English. And I'll explain that when I get to it. But we start with the A sound having an A or an O. You have chong sound. The chong at the beginning is interesting because of the E-O-N-G. San is simple, S-A-M. You have Panji. This is an ecru silk. You have sumlum, a green tea characterized by large, loosely rolled leaves. Pico, tea made from the first three leaves. Sumla has just an O. Pico has an O-E. A lauda is a skipper of a Chinese craft. That one has an A-H, tricky H at the end. Suchong means black tea made from large, smoky leaves. And a loquat is a fruit that's distantly related to apples. Over here, a couple pictures. Saisi means silver coinage. Qilin is a unicorn of Chinese myth depicted with the tail of an ox and the legs and body of a deer. Renminbi means Chinese currency, and pidan means pickled duck eggs preserved in brine. And now we move out from continental Asia into Austronesian languages, Tagalog, Malay, Maori, and Hawaiian. Most of these languages you will find have simple open vowel systems, where you essentially just spell the vowel sounds just how they sound. In Tagalog, if you have an A sound, it's spelled with an A. If you have an E sound, it's spelled with an I. Balintawak, pancit, the noodle dish, remember? Ipilipil, a tropical leguminous shrub used as a means of basically weed control. These all have simple vowels. I'm going to test you on one, however. This is kind of tricky. Pangingi, a card game that resembles the game Rummy. So these cards are for. See if you can get this. Pangingi is spelled like this. It's kind of tricky because it has that G-U-I for the first gi, and then the G-U-E for the next gi. One of the tricky words that you can know in case it pops up in a spelling bee, just because it's unique like that. In Malay, this is an interesting language because geographically and culturally it's been influenced by a variety of languages, from Chinese, Hindi, Urdu, and even Arabic. You have the word topeng here, which also comes from Javanese. It's a Javanese dramatic performance in which the actors wear grotesque masks and act in pantomime. You have a trepang, it's a sea slug. You have banteng, this is an animal. Ikat, it's a type of tie-dye colored weave. And a siamang, it's a type of gibbon. You can look up a video of this gibbon. They make really loud calls and inflate their throat sac. And some Maori words, same thing here. For the schwa sound, if you have an that's usually going to be a. Occasionally you'll have other vowels, and I'll get to that. Kie kie, otherwise open, K-I-E, kie, K-I-E, kie. Kokapu, K-O, K-O, P-U. Kaikatia. So kokapu is a kind of fish. Kaikatia is an evergreen tree. There's a silent H at the first part, ka-hi, ka, ti-ya, T-E-A. You have Kapaka, which is a small broadleaf evergreen tree, sometimes cultivated as an ornamental. Also simple, ka-pu-ka. And here you have the adorable kakapo. Look this up if you get a chance. It's an adorable animal that's almost like an owl parrot. It's interesting because these birds can't really fly, so they live on the ground, and they basically eat fruits and stuff that have fallen or on the ground. They don't really have many natural predators, which is why they're going extinct with introduced predators. Another word you can learn more about. As mnemonics go, this sort of process of figuring out connections and learning more about the words you're learning helps you retain that information and get actual meaning in your head. Just like pahoe-hoe. Go take a break and watch a video of pahoe-hoe in action. That slow flow of lava going, the ASMR of the smoke and the crackling sounds. It's good content. Iiwi is an interesting bird where you have E in quick succession making two I's. Hukilau is the same fishing party, from huki meaning pull and lau meaning net. So basically everybody's getting together and pulling the net to fish. A lokelani is a pink or red Hawaiian rose, and a kikepa is a sarong worn by Hawaiian women. And that's all for the Asian words. Thanks so much for watching, I hope that helped, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.